Welcome to Coffee and Conversation. It's the July edition where we're talking about moving the needle in your business. That's right. I'm the host, Eric Twiggs, the CEO of the What Now movement. And today, our goal is to share some of our frustrations when it comes to moving the needle in your business. I know, contrary to popular opinion, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? We didn't ride in on a unicorn or anything like that. So we're going to talk about just some of the frustrations and just some of the things we do to move the needle and how we react when we feel like the needle isn't moving. So you'll leave with specific strategies, and you hear about some special things we've got coming up to help you to take your game to the next level and move the needle in your business. But before we get into all of that, we're going to introduce the team. So we'll start with you, Dr. Sharon H. Porter.
Greetings, everyone. Great morning, great evening, whatever time it is when you're watching this. I am Dr. Sharon H. Porter, Vice President of Media and Communications for the What Now Movement and WNM Ventures, LLC. I'm also an educator, an author, publisher, and editor-in-chief of Vision and Purpose Lifestyle Magazine.
Fantastic. Ted?
Good morning. I'm Ted Fells. I'm the strategist. What now movement. I'm also the president and CEO of New Core Vision, co-host of 30-Minute Hour podcast. And good morning. Excited to talk about this subject.
Great. Maisha?
Good morning. I am Maisha B. Hoy. I am the CEO of BSHG LLC, which means I am proprietor of Maisha's Lemonade Stand, the founder of QBob, and of course, the founder of CEO of Customer First Marketing. But for more important for purposes today, I am the marketing director of the What Now movement, and I want you to join the movement by clicking on our website today.
All right. Again, that website, thewhatnowmovement.com. Make sure you go to click and join. And I gave you a brief overview on myself, but I'm also your procrastination prevention partner, the author of The Discipline of Now, and I'm the host of the 30-Minute Hour podcast with my man Ted Fells down there, the strategist. So Ted, you're not wearing your strategy glasses, huh? See, when Ted has on his strategy
it's serious
glasses,
then. It's serious. It's serious. Get the whiteboard out. It's serious then. It's serious.
Oh man! And for those of you who are listening on the 30-Minute Hour podcast right now, you have no idea what we're talking about. But Ted has his glasses on right now, so the strategy is about to go to a whole different level.
So I just got these glasses, right? Because for whatever reason, the print just started getting smaller on stuff. They just do stuff with smaller print because it couldn't be my eyes, Maisha. It couldn't be my eyes. So I said, let me go do an eye exam. And it was like, it's your eyes. It's your eyes. So I had to get some strategy glasses.
All right. So now that Ted has his strategy glasses on, we can officially start. We're ready to rock and roll. I want to share the backstory of how we got to this point. And it started because myself, Ted Fells, and Dr. Sharon, we agreed that we wanted to work together. And we thought that we would do in-person summits and we get people into a big room, a big conference center, and we would inspire them with content and inspirational speakers. It was going to be excellent. We had it all planned out. And then the pandemic happened. Right. And we were forced to ask ourselves, what now? We still want to work together, but what now? And then we started to notice in our different networks that people were saying, hey, I've got this idea for a venture. I've got this big dream, but we got the pandemic. So I'm going to wait until things get back to normal. We said, that's the last thing you should do. You should really be asking yourself the question, what now? And that's how we came up with the idea for the What Now movement. And our mission is to help people to pivot when they face adversity, when you face a struggle, when you face a challenge, don't just stop. What can you do now? You have to ask yourself the question, what now? And so here we are. We have the What Now movement. We've got the Moving the Needle in Your Business Summit. We've got the What Now Mindset book that's coming out.
And I can't take it. Man, man, this is some good stuff. I'm sorry, I just got a little excited. I had a moment.
No, so we're literally living this, right? We have to constantly ask ourselves, what now? So along those lines, we'll get started with our theme for the day, moving the needle in your business. And if I had to come up with a basic definition for moving the needle, it's doing things within your business that you can track a quantifiable result to. You're seeing the result improve. You're seeing movement. It's not based off of your opinion. It's not based off of how you like it. Bottom line is you're seeing the result moves. Anybody want to share their thoughts on what it means to move the needle?
I guess I'll jump in. Well, Maish, well, you leaned in. So go on, Maish. Go ahead.
Yes, I will. Yes, moving the needle. I was just thinking about how the visual works, right? Sometimes when you move the needle, it's little steps, and sometimes it's big steps. But at the end of the day, it's a finished product that you're proud of. So moving the needle is taking those little steps to get where you have to go, and those big steps that you have to do sometimes to get to the finished product that you're trying to present to the world.
No, I think that's a great point. It doesn't, because a lot of times we think moving the needle is it has to be a 50% revenue increase. Not necessarily, right? It can be a small step, quantifiable progress. The small steps count because they get you to the big goal. So no, I think that's excellent.
Speaking of small steps, I want to thank everyone that visited our website this past couple of weeks. We had more hits to our website than we've had in the last 3 months. And I think that's because of all the stuff that we're doing with the summit, with the book, with our blog, with this podcast. So thank you, because we moved the needle in the right direction when it came to our website.
Fantastic. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Just continue to hit that What Now, go to that whatnowmovement.com website as Maisha's pointing out there. But I want to talk about this though. So what do you do when you're moving, right? You're doing things in your business, but your results aren't improving. Let's talk about it. I know for me, that's the biggest frustration. When I feel like I'm doing things and I feel like I'm doing the right things, but I'm not seeing any quantifiable result that I can tie to my actions. So I'll throw it over to you, Dr. Sharon. Maybe talk about how do you deal with that frustration?
Well, for me, definitely is looking to see what needs to change. To me, if something is not doing what it needs to do, something in the equation is not right. And so I just look to see what needs to change. People, processes, what is it? Do I need to collaborate with more people, different people? Should I change my process, my procedures? So what exactly needs to change? That to me is what I would do.
Okay, look at what exactly needs to change. Ted?
I think you have to determine whether it's the strategy or execution, right? Like, because a lot of times you'll just keep, taking that strategy and crashing it all up and coming up with something else. And, but is it execution? Is it the execution? Is it the players as well? You have to look at all that. And I think that, goes into what Dr. Sharon was saying. You're looking at the people, the processes, technology, whatever it is, but you can't continue to go month after month after month and not get any movement or get any closer to your goal, right? I was having a conversation with one of my members of my team. He was just like, "Oh yeah, we're really trying." 2 weeks when it's time for that paycheck, really trying doesn't work, right? At some point, we gotta have some results. There's no, they say those participation awards for kids in sports. You just get it to be out here. No, If you're in business and you at Chick-fil-A, it's all about selling chicken sandwiches, Maisha. If you're not selling chicken sandwiches, then you got to figure that out, right? And that's what it's really about. You got to figure out how to get these like you said, Eric, these quantifiable things where you can say, hey, you know, we made $2 today. Like we need to be $2 is more than making nothing, right? So you want to be making something, you know, if that's what you're trying to do, and figure that out.
Absolutely. All right, Maisha.
I'm going to put my marketing hat on and tell everybody that the number one thing you can do to move the needle is to figure out the numbers, right? So, and you do this in your business plan, you may do this at some point, but really figure out what is your revenue goal, your sales goal, whatever that dollar amount is. And you need to walk it back to figure out how many people you need to communicate with, to talk to reach in order for that message to reside. So I think, you know, as you know, I talk about data and metrics all the time, but a lot of people don't really get the numbers. Like saying you want to do $100,000 is great, but back it out, right? How many of each thing that you're selling do you need to get to that number? And then once you have that number, once you have the products and services and you know what that number is, then you start looking at the strategy and execution. Is that the right strategy for me to get to those numbers? Am I doing the right things? Am I on the right platforms? So I believe that, you know, moving the needle in your business starts with recognizing that actual, real, true revenue number and backing all your activities back into that.
No, I think that's great. And one of the things I like about math is that math doesn't lie, right? Math isn't emotional. You know, like I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were asking me, could they afford this employee? And I had this little spreadsheet, and I said, okay, if you do this, and he says, oh, so you're telling me that I should get this person? I'm not telling you anything. The math is saying this. I say, look, don't get mad at me. Get mad at the math, right? So I just think anything you can do to quantify what you're doing, and you know, and we've called it the win number. We say, okay, all right, how much do you need to see on the profit line each week to feel like you won? Okay, this is how many customers you need. This is how many people you need. Now it's math. So no, I think that's excellent. And I think if you can break it down to a math equation, I think certainly that'll help you to move the needle. Yeah, and I know just for me, even something like the podcast, the 30-minute hour, right? So right now, like we rank top 2% globally of all podcasts on listen notes.
Ooh, very good. Congratulations.
You know, the last 30-day period, we've had 30,000 downloads. But what people don't know is we went 2 years where, and I'll tell you, I don't know if I ever shared this with you. We had a 2-year span where we didn't exceed like 200 downloads a week. It's like a 2-year window.
That we didn't? We
didn't. We had a 2-year span where we never got over 200 downloads.
So you didn't tell me because, you know, I might have broke down. And so you wanted me to be able to, you know, keep myself emotionally intact. So I appreciate you holding that from me.
But no, and it's all about moving the needle. And I think you have to get outside of yourself. That's just my experience, right? And your personal feelings about what you're doing, and look at what is the data telling you, and you know, what is the math telling you. And I think for me, it motivated me to make certain changes with a lot of the things you see with the show, where we've got a different graphic, we've got a different themes, we've got different, you know, different types of guests. We've got a lot of that came out of pain and frustration.
We even had a successful podcast.
So you were cutting out. Say that again.
I said we even had guests who had very successful podcasts. So it allowed us to ask questions about what are those things that help them move the needle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, Ted and I were doing Intel. Right?
That's right. Now, what did you do? What are some of those techniques?
But that's smart. That's smart to do. I mean, you want to be around the best. You want to learn from the best. So if you have people who are getting, I mean, your next goal, right, is to be the top 1% on another. I guess I don't know the platforms. I'm so sorry. To get to 100,000 downloads, is I think Ted said this a couple coffee conversations ago. We're never done, right? Because as soon as you accomplish it, it's like, okay, we're top 2. We got to be number 1. You know, and that's what motivates us. That's what motivates us.
That's it. You know, I know I keep sounding like I'm talking about chicken sandwiches all the time, but you know, when Popeyes came out with the chicken sandwich and everybody was excited, then you see everyone come out with a chicken sandwich. So I know they had to think, okay, wait a second, right? We got to come up with another way because everyone is doing it, right? There's trends and certain things start to happen that your competitors do, and you got to figure out, okay, what do I need to do? I'm always got to be thinking continuous improvement. Like you're never there. Like you're never there. I think that's the mindset that you need to have. And if you just keep pushing, as Eric talked about with the podcast, we just kept pushing and different things started happening. Even, you know, when we first started with the podcast, I mean, you know, we were coming to the office and doing it live, right? And we were just only getting guests that there were people we knew. And then once everything happened with the pandemic, and then it's like we had guests that just come to us now. Each of those guests, they bring, you know, their network, right? And so that's how, you know, the number started to increase. But it was all just perseverance. You just keep pushing, and then those answers start to come, and you talk to different people and all that. You just can't just settle for your numbers being stuck and just being like, I'm trying. No, just try it. You got to figure it out.
And I think it does help too. And I think Dr. Sharon, like you were leaning in, I'll let you get in a second.
You got to watch it when folks lean in and get something. Don't once that lean in happen, let it go. Let them come on in.
I'm gonna let you hear it 2 seconds. So I think it's good. Like I look at with Ted and I, you know, we have meetings, right? Where we just talk about how things are going. And like I have this thing, I can be a creature of habit, right? I consider myself to be very disciplined, but it's easy for me to keep doing something that's not working. Right. I just keep doing it. That's
what your head into that wall every day.
Right. And Ted is like, yeah, I mean, okay, look, why are we doing this? What is this? What is this getting us? How, you know, do we need to change this? Do we need to change that? Do we need to switch up the questions? Do we need to switch up the guest selection? Do we need to? So I think, you know, if you're in a business, you should have some type of team meeting with your leadership to be looking at your results and looking at your actions. Are your actions getting you to where you want to go that are going to move the needle? So Dr. Sharon?
Yeah, no, as we were thinking and moving the needle, I thought of the first 2, then what? Jim Collins and Good to Great. He says it perfectly for me. First 2, then what? So get the right people on the bus and then get the right people in the correct seat. In addition to all of that you're saying, I really believe that if we, anyone in a business or organization, really take an inventory and look to make sure that all of those things are in place. And then, like you say, because what you all are talking about are processes at that time, you know, what you all were doing. So I think it really is everything together. You might look at this part first, then this part, you know, you may not do it all together, but I think it's a combination of things that you take if your needle isn't moving. So I just wanted to share that.
Oh, good.
I just leaning forward.
Let her in.
Only because she said the magic word, and this is how I base my marketing company off. It is understanding who you are trying to reach in your business. And I was just having a conversation with another branding expert, and the who is so important. Who are you talking to? I mean, if you want to get down to the demographics where they live, but who are you trying to target? If you nail that down and you can reach that audience that we talked about with the numbers of people in that audience, you should be successful, and you absolutely will move the needle in your business if your message is resonating with the who that you're trying to reach. This is a marketing coffee conversation today.
Absolutely.
let me tell you, Maisha, that's been a point of frustration for me too. That whole idea of niching down and talking to a specific person, and figuring out who you're talking to, and I've had coaches. I had a coach one time say that the exact same thing, and then when I did it, it worked out much better.
You can't. We all can't talk to everybody, and we talked about this when I started with the What Now movement, right? What is our niche with this leadership and professional development? Who are we talking to? And we are focusing on those individuals who had to pivot at some point and know they will have to pivot again. And know if they started a company during COVID, they know they're going to have to pivot. We have a very targeted niche. We're talking to sponsors who want to help these individuals with the pivot. We're talking to technology companies now who are, putting together technology to help these individuals who want to pivot. There's a lot of people out there trying to help, but we're helping those that are mentally ready and understand the need to keep moving the needle in their business, to always be ready for the next time. We're getting you ready for what's next. I can't see this thing. But yeah, I would definitely give that marketing advice as well. Find out your who, tailor your message to them, and go after it.
Yeah, so it's called your avatar. And so literally, I know people that they have a picture of what that person looks like, and they just have it like on their computer terminal. So whenever they're creating content, they've got that person in mind. I think it was the guy that wrote The Purpose Driven Life, Pastor Rick Warren. They have somebody they call Saddleback Sam, and they have Saddleback Samantha. The name of his church was Saddleback. And so whenever they're promoting or doing things to try to get people to come out to the church, they're saying, okay, what are Saddleback Sam's problems? What are Saddleback Samantha's problems? And that's why they've experienced the growth that they've experienced. I think that's critical. So if I were to kind of go back and recap this segment, we talked about, how do you move the needle in the business? What are your frustrations? When you reach that frustration point, what are some of the things you can do? We talked about first who, then what, that concept from Jim Collins' book, Good to Great. And that could be for people that are working for you. And also that could be for trying to figure out, target your niche, who you're actually communicating to. Talked about taking an inventory, just look at kind of what's working, what's not. The math, like Maisha brought that up. Do a math exercise and just make it a math equation. Okay, what does the math look like? For you want this much profit each week? How many people do you need? What does business need to look like? And so those are the key things. Anything we missed?
Leaning in. Yeah, I missed my leaning.
Go ahead,
Mike.
Oh, I did a panel. No, I was the speaker for a technology group, and I talked about shiny object marketing. And I just want to make sure we kind of stick to the strategy execution for a little bit. Just because it's not working doesn't mean that you need to go on to the next thing, right? You need to figure out, especially in marketing, there's so many social media platforms, there's so many different websites, there's so many different tools that we can use. So I want to stick with the who, figuring out the strategy, how you're going to reach them, and then finding the best platform and work it. Maybe Ted, you could talk about how long do we stay with a strategy before we say we need to switch it, we need to change, because sometimes I think people give up too quickly.
I thought you were about to say, at one point you determined it sucks. Like I said, you went.
Yeah, but how long do we stay with a strategy before we say it's the execution or it's not working? I think that's another key point. I think consistency overcomes a lot of stuff, and we go with the messaging and everything else we spoke about. Sometimes just staying in there a little bit longer can get you where you gotta go.
Yeah, and just speaking on that, Maisha, I think to me a good indicator is when you really feel that you've done all that you can. It's almost like a marriage, right? two people together and it's not working, they feel like they've done everything, then the change comes. I just don't believe in changing immediately when something doesn't work, because it does take time. But you have to know all of the things that you are willing to try, and that should be your determining. That's what I feel.
I think you got to really be honest with yourself, Maisha, when you talk about, is it working? So let's go back to, we've all talked about in the past the whole diet thing, right? I know, right? Is the diet working or not, right? If you're not doing it consistently, right? If you're not eating right, if you're not working out, you can't say this gym thing, I don't know why I joined this gym. This thing is not working. You've only been one time this month and you was eating a cheeseburger on the way there, right? How can you say that it's not working? You have to really look at what you're doing and say, okay, are we all in? Are we clear on what we're doing? Are we consistently doing it? Like, Eric, again, very specific, very disciplined on what he's doing. Okay, we're going to have 100 calls go out today, right? So if you're doing 100 calls a day or 100 emails a day, and you see over a week you did 500 or you did 400 or at least half that, and you didn't see any results, and you do that over a period of time, and then you're like, this is not working, right? This is not working. But you have to really look at that and say, did you really do it? Did you really execute on it to say whether the diet is working, whether the gym membership you need to change to something else and do Zumba or whatever else you want to do, you want to do, but you got to do it. So if it's emails, if it's phone calls, if it's something, it's the consistency in it before you can say, okay, we've been doing this over this amount of time. I also think that, you pull your team together, right? You pull your team together and you say, hey, let's look at this. How is this working? What are the challenges? I mean, should we tweak this? I think you look at people externally, advisors and mentors, and sometimes just going to other people that are having success. And I tell you, most of the time when I've asked people about different things that they've done and been successful, majority of the time they're open to share with you, right? They get to talking and telling you some things that it makes maybe one tweak to what you're doing. But you got to determine, is it the strategy, right? Is it the plan, or is it the execution of it, and the consistency, in that.
No, I think these are great points. For me, I think it goes back to what you were talking about with the numbers, Maisha. Like sometimes you can give up too soon if you don't really understand the numbers. For example, like with from a marketing standpoint, if you're marketing to, let's say, an existing customer, like it could be a 15% response rate. So that means you would have to do 20 calls or so to get 3 people, right? So let's say you do 6 or 7 calls and you think, oh, you know what? My approach isn't working. Oh my goodness, I need to change this. I need to, no, you just haven't been doing it long and you haven't done enough calls, right? So, and then if you're trying to get a new customer, oh my goodness, it's if you're, Maisha can tell you, if you're sitting, let's say you do a postcard campaign, you can look at like a 0.5% response rate is what you expect. If you're sitting out like, let's say a postcard campaign to a bunch of people that don't know you. So it's not that, and you send 10 of those things out and think it's not working. No, you just haven't worked the numbers for long enough. So I think I'm glad we're talking about this because there's 2 sides of it. I think number one, you have to know when to stop doing something that's not working. But number 2, you need to recognize when you haven't been doing something for long enough.
Yep.
Maisha, I know that's your.
I gotta say, what's that song? It's all about the numbers. We're talking about the numbers, all about the numbers. I mean, and I think if we can leave here with that advice to everyone that's listening, know your numbers.
Exactly.
Just know them. And it starts with And if anybody, so let me just say this: if anybody, I will post the link that I have that helps you figure out how many leads you need to have into your system in order to generate the revenue that you want. I did the exercise for all my clients. And that's when you really start to say, this is what we need marketing money for. That's what I say. That's what I say. Well, if I have to reach 100,000 people for you to get $1 million in sales, where is that money coming from? Where is that list coming from? And that's what we're talking about, the strategy versus the execution. Execution, I can do social media. I can send out 100 emails, all that stuff. But if we're not reaching the people we need to reach. We're just doing things incrementally. We're moving the needle in the right direction, which is always positive. But to be realistic, we know we need to do more.
And that's the part where I think you really have to really think about, again, what you're doing, right? And that's why you have to always just continue to revisit it. I remember, it was a time I go to networking events, right? And it's like, man, I'm just not getting anything out these networking events. So one side could tell you, okay, we just need to stop going to networking events. No, what I had to determine was I had to go to networking events where the people that I wanted to get to attended. Right. So if I'm trying to get to certain types of people, right, and I'm continuing going to this place and those people are not there. I mean, you giving out all your business cards to a bunch of folks that can't help your situation. Right. You having a drink, eating wings with these. No, you need to go to the room next door. Go to the room next door. That's where the people are that you're trying to get to. Make sure you're going to the right place, because advertisements for networking events, all of them sound good. This is the premier place to be. Well, it might not be the premier place for you to be. I say, hey, Ted, you going down to this event? But early on, I would go to any of those events. I was constantly out throughout the week, networking, stacks of business cards. You get back and be like, what is this?
Isn't that where I met you, Ted?
But that was a great thing, right? Meeting you. But there's a bunch of other folk. I'm like, why I meet these folks? What I'm doing all these business cards that I'm about to throw away because,
And that's one of the things we were talking about that before. Like, I go to networking events. I look at that list. I look at who RSVP. I look at all that. And I say, okay, I'm going to meet 3 people who are in the who of who I need to talk to, who are my target market, who I believe I can help. And I zone in on them and I go talk to them. I do my pitch. I get their card, try to set up a meeting, all in that conversation. And that's considered a success.
So as the strategist, right? You always ought to have, I did that, Eric, as the strategist, right? You always ought to have a strategy for whatever it is that you're doing. If it's a networking event, what's the strategy? If it's a conference I'm going to, what's my strategy? And what does success look like for me there, right? Like you just said, Maisha, because if you don't, you will be doing a bunch of stuff, right? But you'll be like that hamster, right, on that wheel. You'll be like, man, I'm tired every week. I'm spending a bunch of money. I'm spending a bunch of time. I know Eric, I know, Doctor, I know I'm trying. I'm hard. I'm committed to this. Can't you see I'm committed? I've had that discussion with my team. Can't you see I'm committed? I'm here every day. I pay you to be here every day. Like that right there doesn't mean that, commitment. No, you gotta be committed to the right things. You gotta make sure that needle is moving, because if it's not, at some point we can't continue to do things the way that we're doing, right? And expect for us to ever move in the company to grow. You got $1, you got to be figuring out how to get to 2.
That's true.
Absolutely.
That's the one quote I know. Insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results.
Exactly.
Dr. Sharon, I know you had something.
Yeah, I just wanted, because we talked a lot about execution, and it made me think of the book in the 4 disciplines of execution. Not sure who the author is, but they talk about 4 things that you should do to execute. And I think it's important in the conversation. We've said some of them already, but the first one was focus on what's important. Act on lead measures. And we talked about that. Know who you're going to, and then act on that. Keep a compelling scoreboard. That's knowing your numbers. That's what Maisha was just talking about. And create a cadence of accountability. And that, Ted, you always say, we got to keep people accountable to do what you say you're going to do. So I think that's something I got to remember who the author is, because I got to go find that book in my stack of books. But because you all were saying that, it just made me remember, those simple steps of executing, because that's oftentimes where we fall short.
And sometimes you get a break, right? You just go someplace and you might meet that key person. I've learned this in being in business over the years. At some point, you will get that blessing, right? That you are talking to somebody at a restaurant, right? And they'll be a lead for you, right? And you can go to that restaurant 100 times and that may not happen again, So I think if you just keep pushing, and staying in it, at some point, the more people you meet, the more people you engage with eventually. And it could be someone that's the last person that you would have thought would have been, that you never know, what that deal looks like, that decision maker looks like. I mean, it could just be the person that you just, again, meet at a family event, somebody that you just meet, again, just wherever, but I think it needs to be you're constantly meeting people, you're constantly engaging, you're constantly seeing how I can, tighten up my process and how I pitch to people, whatever, right?
Absolutely. I think you just have to and just embrace the identity of someone who's always learning. And that's the bottom line. You'll be less fragile when it comes to failure and fear of failure and all of that good stuff. If you just say, I'm always learning, no matter what happens. If I win, I'm learning. If I don't get it, I'm learning. What can I do better? How can I change? I think that's really the key, and that'll help you to move the needle in your business. All right. I think this is a good time for us to stop for a moment and take a coffee break. I mean, it is coffee and conversation, right? We're going to stop for a moment and
that's a lot of coffee you got in there, Eric. You're going to be highly charged.
I may have a problem.
You're going to be highly charged all day.
I may have a coffee addiction problem here, but that's another show for another day.
That's right.
All right. So this episode of Coffee and Conversation is sponsored by the Moving the Needle Summit. That's right. The What Now movement, Moving the Needle Summit. And I think, and we'll get into that. What does it mean as far as the summit? Right. What are you going to get out of that? But I did want to talk about something else. We talk about the What Now mindset. And we have this book that's coming out titled The What Now Mindset. And I want to get into a conversation about, like, how does the What Now mindset help us to move the needle? Dr. Sharon, we'll start with you.
Okay. No, look. We look like instead of leaning in, we're just gonna push you in, Dr. Sharon. Don't lean in, give us some on the book.
That is funny. Okay, so to me, the What Now mindset means that you pause, not necessarily stop, but you take a pause to figure out or strategize what your next steps are. And I liken it to driving and you come up to a roadblock or a detour and you're not familiar. Have you ever been driving out of town and you come up to a detour and it doesn't show you the way to detour? I've done that several times.
In town. I've done it in town. I didn't have to be out of town.
Right. And you have to pause to figure out, or it's one or two things. You pause and figure out which way to go, or you just go, right? And so generally, it means that you have to take some time to figure out the next steps because something has presented itself that causes you to take a pause or pivot. And so that's just simply what it means to me. You just have to take that pause and figure out what is it that I'm to do next because of this that has occurred in my life or in my business, whatever it is.
No, that's great. I mean, because the last Coffee and Conversation, we talked about looking at the scoreboard. It's halftime, And that's the perfect opportunity to pause, like you said. And that's, the what now mindset has everything to do with taking that pause. Ted, what are your thoughts?
Well, one thing about moving the needle that I think about it, I kind of go back to that place years ago when I was working in the government, and Nucor Vision was my side thing, right? And how challenging this can be. And I know we have a lot of listeners that have this situation where you got your full time, and then you got your side business that you're trying to hopefully at some point pivot and make it your full time. Like, and how do you treat the activities of that business, right? To really move things, right? Because it's really, you can go throughout your work day, Eric. We've talked about that, and you're exhausted from just your work. Like, how do you determine how much time you're going to put into the side business in a week, right? So that you can feel like you're really moving the needle there. Because if a week goes by and you haven't done much in the side one, eventually it's going to just, it's just going to be done, right? So is it a situation where you're going to say, hey, I work 8 hours a day, and then I'm going to 3 hours on the other, I'm trying to get there. So in the course of the week, I'm committing to 15 hours, right? So that at some point you're going to start seeing something, but it's got to be some way that you're going to measure it, because it's always going to be something that you're going to push to the side. Your main job is going to be I'm not advocating that you be working your side thing throughout the time that you're supposed to be working your main thing. Now, you didn't hear the strategists tell you that, but from time to time, and it's, you're gonna that happens a bit where you're gonna have to do some of that stuff, especially if you start getting clients, right? Those clients are not trying to wait till 5 o'clock in the evening, right? So sometimes you're going to have to determine what that balance is going to be there. But just, how do you, start really making sure that you're doing the things that you need to be doing? Because if your goal is for that to be your main thing, it's going to have to be some consistency, to it, even when you're tired from your main job and all the other things that you have in life. You decided that this is something that you want to do. Nobody made you decide to start this other business. So you're going to have to give it some energy, right? You're going to have to give it some time if you want it to be something more than just a business card and a website. So.
No, I think that's a great point. We have quite a few people who follow us that are in that situation. It was Ebony McMorris. She's like a radio personality, and I was at something she was MC, and she said something that always stuck with me. She said, when you're in that situation, you have to make your purpose your plan A, and your full-time job your plan B. You literally have to trick yourself. So instead of how you divide up your time, you really need to figure that out and be intentional. But that's the mindset you have to have going in, that your purpose is your plan A, and that's where you're really trying to get to ultimately. Because it's very easy to pick it up and put it down, pick it up and put it down. That's not how you get traction. So I'm glad, Ted, you brought that up.
Thank you.
All right, Maisha, what are your thoughts?
I think the mindset is being positive and optimistic. Sticking with us, if you stick with us for the last few months of this Coffee and Conversations, you're hitting your goals, right? Or if you're not, that if you go back and listen to a couple of our podcasts, we have given you gems for you to use in your business or in your life, because we get personal too. So I think your mindset, and what I believe is the what now movement mindset, is positivity and optimism and knowing that you're going to get there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think everything starts with the mindset. Yeah. And you're not going to really hit your goals consistently and be in that place that you want to be consistently without embracing the right mindset. That's why it's so important. And that's why, we could have just done the coffee conversation every month. We could have just done a summit, and that'd have been good. But we really wanted to put together a tool to help you with your mindset. And that's the What Now Mindset book that's going to be coming out. And Dr. Sharon, you want to share with folks kind of what they can expect to get and how they can potentially pre-order the What Now Mindset book?
Absolutely. So, first of all, we have 9 amazing authors who are sharing their what now stories, their journeys of what now. First thing is we're going to have a meet the authors on Wednesday, July 6th at 7 p.m. And I'll put all these links on the various platforms. And you can also go to the What Now movement a little later today, and it will be there as well. But the Meet the Authors, we have several of our authors who will be a part of getting to know them, telling a little bit about their chapters. Currently, we're doing the pre-order campaign through tomorrow, where as soon as the book is released, it will be sent to you. Also, they will be speaking as panelists at the summit, which you'll talk about a little later. So we're excited about that. As well as some of them will be part of our networking event that we will have. So we're really excited about this. And this is volume 1. We already have a waiting list for volume 2. So I encourage all of you to go ahead and pre-order so you can get your autographed copy by one of the authors and be able to share in their what now journey.
Fantastic.
Eric, Eric, one thing, when we talk about going back to kind of that what now mindset, like I just think about it as we're talking about coffee and conversations. And there's sometimes, you're doing this stuff, you're like, man, we need to pause, we need to stop, whatever. And then, but you get to that place in whatever it is, business or whatever, where you're like, there's no turning back. Like I'm at a place now where, I'm like, okay, in the business, it's like, okay, like it has to happen big, right? Even, with coffee and conversation, we know we're helping people, right? And even when we started looking at like the downloads from previous months, like, and we didn't know, right? Like we're thinking, we see a couple, and then you're like, look, like people are downloading from January, right? So we're helping some folks from January, February, right? So we know we're doing the right things, but you don't always see, like, you see certain things on social media, and you see, what's his name, DJ D Nice, right? And you see all these names just going down, scrolling down the screen, and all this stuff happening. That's what you want to see to keep you going, but we weren't seeing that, but we didn't know in the background what was happening, and so we just continue to push and push. And at some point, you'll see it right there. I think you want to see it right there in front of you, right? You want to see the register moving. You want to see the followers. You want to see that stuff right there. But, a lot of that stuff, it just doesn't happen overnight unless you are like a celebrity or something, right? That celebrity comes out there and he or she is already well known, and you're like, man, and Beyonce, she get these stuff just scrolling down all day, right? But for us, you got to build it. You got to build it. You got to be persistent with it. You got to give good content. Same thing with your businesses. You got to give good products and services, and and then people start, giving recommendations, and you just got to keep pushing, keep trying different things. And at What Now Mindset says, no matter what, right, I'm going to keep doing this, right? I'm dealing with this situation, with my family or health or whatever the situation is, financial, they just continue to push forward. And I think that's just the whole kind of mindset that you have to have. If you said this is what you're going to do to make this, this dream a reality.
Yeah, and you mentioned DJ D Nice, and we see he's got millions of people following him, but I'm sure there was a time where he wasn't getting the response he thought. We don't see that, right? We see the front side, but we don't see what it took to get to that point.
Yeah.
We don't see when he put something out there and got crickets.
That's it.
It's glamorous now, but the challenge is most people aren't willing to go through what it takes to get to that point.
Yeah.
And that's where the mindset comes in. And if you're constantly asking yourself, what now, the chances of you getting to that level are much greater than if you just expect that it's going to happen. You put a post out and it's going to just instantly go viral. So, yeah, the mindset is critical. That's why it's just so important to have this book in your hand.
You got to get that book in your hand.
Absolutely.
Get the book in your hand.
Stop playing. Order that book to the pre-orders.
Right, go ahead and pre-order the What Now Mindset. But and it's one thing if just you're hearing from people who have gone through things and they're telling you kind of their story and what they got out of it, and so you're getting practical information. It's not just some theory, right? Oh yeah, this. No, you're getting practical information that's going to help you to make sure you embrace the right mindset and continue to move forward. And then we have this summit, right? The What Now Movement Summit.
I can't do no more. That's right. It's too much. It's too much excitement. Unbelievable. A book and a summit?
Not just a book, Ted. A summit as well.
Shh. Let me get out of here. It can't be possible. I mean, y'all doing all that with the What Now movement? A book and a summit?
That's right. A book and a summit. So July 16th, you need to mark your calendar. July 16th from 9 a.m. Eastern to 12 noon Eastern. The What Now movement is presenting the Moving the Needle Summit, the Moving the Needle in Your Business Summit. Right, Maisha?
Moving the needle.
Moving the needle. If your needle not moving, you better be at the summit.
If your needle is not moving, but as
even if it is moving,
because there's always something you can learn from the best who've done it. Their stories, learn from them. It's always something we can learn. I mean, I'm sure the president goes to a summit, so he can learn from others.
That's right.
For sure. And then, so if you look at our Moving the Needle, we've got Chantel Powell. She was just featured on CBS this morning with Gayle King, being interviewed about her product that she created, Play Pits.
Eric, remember we were interviewing her when she was just working out her kitchen.
Yes.
So we successfully watched that. Yeah, within a few years.
So you talk about moving the needle. Let's break this down really quick here, right? So we've had Chantel on like 3 times on a 30-minute hour podcast. The first time she was doing it out of her kitchen. We had her on months later. She had a big warehouse, this big factory warehouse where she was doing it out of. We had her on again. She was on the shelves of Target. That's not moving the needle. I don't know what is.
Unbelievable.
Moving the needle. And I don't want to give too much away, but she has this story of where she would go to Target. Her dream was to get her product in Target. So she would actually take her deodorant, Play Pits deodorant, and put it on the shelf just so she could visualize what it would look like once she got there.
Love it.
And guess what? She's there. So she's going to talk about her journey and the steps she took to move the needle. I'm sure she'll even share some of her frustrating points to get there. So you'll hear from her. We've also got the different authors that we've been talking about of the What Now Mindset book. They're going to be on a panel talking more about the What Now Mindset and giving you little snippets of their story. And then we're going to close with Carl Gould. And Carl Gould is just making it happen. He had bought and sold successfully 3 businesses before he turned 40, multi-million-dollar businesses. Now he's got a coaching model that's impacting people around the world. He speaks around the globe. That was one of our highest rated 30-minute hour podcasts. We got one of our most downloaded episodes, where he talked about the blueprint for small business success. You can check that episode out too, but he's going to definitely talk about moving the needle.
Man, you better get your little self to that summit. You better get your little self to wake up, get some, make a bacon and egg, whatever you do for breakfast, cereal. Get on at 9 a.m. for this summit, because this is going to be some good stuff. Don't miss it. Do not miss it.
Absolutely.
You can go to our website, and register for our summit today. What Now
Do it
movement
today.
under events.
So Maisha, can you share it's a major cost to this summit, right? Can you share the cost for the people? How much it costs?
Get them a payment plan as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get on a payment plan for this.
It's $1,000. Kidding. It is free.
So those of you that logged off, you need to log back on. It's free.
Right.
It's free. But it's worth $1,000. Right. I mean, that is just some great insights we're going to get. And I'm looking for it. I've heard Chantel on the 30-minute hour. I heard her first two. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how did she do that? I want a product. I haven't heard Carl do, but I am looking forward to learning from them. And that's the most important thing I think anyone can get from spending time with us and any other summit. Will you come out with 3 key takeaways that you can use immediately?
That's right.
In your business? And I promise you, you'll get at least 3. I promise you. Or we'll give you your money back because it's free.
That's right. That's right. We'll give it back.
Money back guarantee.
Money back guarantee.
Money back guarantee that you will get 3 things that you will be able to use immediately in your business.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about the takeaways. It's the takeaways that help you to move the needle. Right. And you'll hear from people who are moving the needle as we speak. So that's something you don't want to miss. Again, I'll repeat myself. It's just Saturday, July the 16th. I mean, the thing about this, you don't have to get in the car and go sit through traffic and go to the hotel and ask the person at the desk where the conference room. You don't have to do all of that. All you have to do is turn your computer on and click the button.
Make sure you done paid your internet bill.
Right.
Make sure you, or go somewhere else, with some Wi-Fi. I mean, you got to
get Wi-Fi.
That's right.
There you go. So it's Saturday, July 16th, 9 a.m. Eastern. This is Eastern times, 9 a.m. to 12 noon. The What Now Movement, Moving the Needle Summit.
Can't wait. What's the countdown? I can't wait.
Oh, man.
It's July 2nd, Ted, so know your numbers. 14 days.
Well, man, I don't want to mess up. I won't mess it up. I'm excited. 14
days away.
That's right.
It's only 14 days away. It's free. Make sure you come and check us out so that way you can move the needle.
I'm just trying to think. This is the needle, right? I don't know.
That's right. Move the needle.
That is the needle. So again, just to bring this to a close, we just definitely want to thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for clicking the website. Thank you for watching us on YouTube. Thank you for downloading. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, we want to thank you for watching this month's episode of Coffee and Conversation. Don't forget to visit the whatnowmovement.com. Make sure you register for that summit about moving the needle.
Tell a friend.
Tell a friend.
Tell a friend.
Make sure you pre-order the What Now Mindset book.
Oh my goodness, man! I know people about to explode. You just get all that information, man.
This is just too much value for one sitting. My goodness!
It's amazing. It's amazing.
All right. Hey, did anybody have any closing thoughts before we sign off?
Like I said, persistence. Stick it out. Talk to other people that have done it. Get your team around you, folks that can, encourage you. Come to the summit.
There you
Make
go.
sure you're at the summit. Get the book. I can't do no more. I'm done.
I just want to say every day, make progress. Every day. Just when you're up, set the goals. I have a new app, Commit to 3. Knock out those things and you will be in a positive, optimistic way of the What Now mindset.
You feel warm the way you said that. I just felt like smiling. I was like, man, that's so warm.
Dr. Sharon.
Yep, just order the book, as Ted said. We are so excited about the pre-orders that are coming in already. Add to it, get your autographed copy, and we'll see you at the summit.
The book is going like hotcakes.
Like hotcakes.
Bring your plate. Bring your plate. They go like hotcakes. Bring your plate.
Good stuff. And my closing thought is don't allow perfect to become the enemy of progress.
Ooh.
You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have all the details. You have to focus on the next step. You want to move the needle? What's the next step you can take to move towards your goal?
You know, the good thing also about doing what we do with, you know, What Now Movement and all the other platforms is we see people, so many people at different stages and how they, you know, have been successful. And you have to look at that and say, that can be me.
You have to ask yourself, why not you? That's the question, right?
Yeah.
Why can't you get your product on the shelves of Target? Why can't you sell 3 businesses? Why not you?
Why not you?
There you go. That's the perfect thing to close on. And until next time, have a great one.